Dear students and colleagues, good afternoon. Let's get started with the fourth lab session of IoT. So in today's lab, we will be focusing on actuators and sensors, how to interface them to a Node MCU board. So the lab is planned like this. We will start with the sensors, how to interface the sensors. Then we'll go to the actuators. We'll look at the definition, different types of actuators, everything will be studied. And then PWM is a fundamental concept used for controlling most of the actuators and motors. That will be discussed. And many IoT systems need to operate heavy electric loads such as home appliances working at very high voltage. So how do we perform the switching of high voltage appliances? That will also be concerned. And then serial communication, which is a legacy protocol supported in almost all digital equipments. Serial data communication and its application will be discussed. And to conclude, we will give you some exercise questions and we will open up for discussion and implementation. So this is how we planned today's lab session. So let us see what is a sensor. So a sensor is bringing in the information from the world to the system. So sensors are of two types. One with digital interfaces, that is they give digital data. You can find out a lot of examples during our theory session. We'll give you many examples for that. So they give digital data which will be connected to the microcontroller through various protocols like this: I2C, SPI, I2S and Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, low energy, etc. So all these protocols, details, how they work, etc. will be covered in the theory sessions. Now, analog sensors are interfaced directly to the ADC pins of the Arduino or Node MCU. In some cases, we may have to use some separate driver board to convert the analog signal to the digital level. For example, if we use the load cell or strain gauge, its output is actually analog voltage, but we use a driver module used on a particular chip which will be working as an ADC and it will be fed to the microcontroller. So more about sensors we shall have a discussion in the theory session. So let us move to the actuators. So actuators perform the opposite task of sensors. So sensors brings in the external world entities into the system, whereas actuators takes the control and commands and makes some changes in the external world. So an IoT device that can change one or more properties of a physical entity in response to the received information. Here if you look at the sprinkler is making a change to its environments based on the control information it is received. In fact, this control information is processed as a result of the sensor input. So this is the workflow or signal chain where the actuators are working. So on one end you have the sensor and on the other end you have the actuator, and in between lot of communication and processing is happening. So this is a simplified view of an IoT setup which shows the relative position of an actuator. So you might have seen lot of actuators in your everyday life. When you get into a mall or a supermarket, the door is opening automatically. So wherever you find an automatic, that means there is an actuator which is doing the task for us. And in cars and all, we adjust the driver seat position by switching, pressing some button. That is also happening because of actuators. The car seat will move back and forth. You can adjust the height, etc. So actuators are classified into two based on the way they move. Linear actuator, as we saw earlier, the door opener, it moves linearly, and a rotary actuator which is used in most of the industries as in the form of valves. I can show you an example for that. So look at this. This is a linear actuator. This could have been used in place of door opener. So this, in fact, there is a motor which will retract the door when it has to be closed. This is how linear actuator works. In rotary actuator, you have a valve which is controlled by the rotation of any device. So this can also be electronically controlled if you connect a motor here. So most of the solenoid valves, flow meters, most of the solenoid valves are working like this. So this is a butterfly valve, which is example for a rotary actuator. Okay, now, so from where does this actuator gets power to operate? It could be from electricity. Electric actuators are fed with electricity. They may contain some electromagnetic induction based devices, or you can have hydraulic actuators where liquid pressure is used as an energy. You might have seen hydraulics, benches and so on, lifts, etc. They are all working on hydraulic actuator. And you can also use compressed air as a source of energy. Such actuators are known as pneumatic actuators. So most of the actuators that we use in IoT falls under electric actuators that we are going to try also. So one of the most popular actuator is a DC motor, and we have DC servo motors and stepper motor. They all, even though they all fall under the same category, they have different purpose. DC motors, they rotate the moment you feed them power. Servo motors will give you precise control over the position of the shaft, whereas stepper motors will give you fine control in the rotation, and you can specify the degree of rotation. So more details on stepper motors will not be discussed here, so that will be left to you as an exercise. We will have complete coverage on DC motors and servo motors. So let's get started with DC motors. So DC motors are found in most of the toys and mini automated systems. They are available with different capacity, torque, power. Torque means its rotational capacity, how much weight it can rotate. That is the torque, and we specify it. And its speed and direction can be controlled by the IoT single board computers such as Node MCU, Raspberry Pi or Arduino. And the speed control is mainly accomplished with the help of a technique known as pulse width modulation, or PWM. So let us see how PWM works, which is at the heart of controlling a DC motor. So when we give a power supply, let's say 12 volt as such to the DC motor, it starts rotating. This is a rotating part of the motor which is extending to the external outside, is known as the shaft. From the shaft we take out the power. The shaft will rotate at its full speed when you give the full input rated voltage, let's say 12 voltage. If you want to make the rotation the other way, you have to swap the polarity of the input, then the motor starts rotating in the opposite direction. Now, how do we control the speed of the question? Speed of the motor, that is the question. So to control the speed, we must control the average voltage applied to the motor. So how do we have a control on the applied voltage? You can use resistors, but resistors will dissipate energy, and that is not an efficient way of controlling the power. So there comes the idea of pulse width modulation. It's a very simple technique by means of which we can control the average voltage applied to the motor, thereby controlling its speed. So let us see how it works. So in pulse width modulation, we will not give 12 volt all the time. We give 12 volt at short pulses. Okay. Now let us consider it as a square wave. Here the square wave is high for 25% of the time. Rest of the time is off. So if you provide such a square wave, you are supplying only 3 volt average to the motor. So motor will not get 12 volt and its speed will be very less because it is fed only with 3 voltage. So the fundamental idea in PWM is by varying the duty cycle of the pulse, you can change the average voltage delivered to the load. Now look at here, this is a 50% duty cycle. So for those who forgot the term duty cycle is the ratio of on time to the total period of the wave. So on time divided by on time plus off time. So here it is 50% duty cycle, you are transferring 6 voltage. So motor will be rotating faster than a 25% duty cycle. So if you give 90% duty cycle, you get 10.8 and motor will be even more faster. And what is the extreme case? 100% duty cycle, and that is what is shown here. So this is a 100% duty cycle and motor will rotate at its maximum speed. So this generation of these pulses can be easily done by a microcontroller. That is the interesting part of it. Let us see how it can be done. So the Arduino or any single board computer that is available in market has got dedicated PWM pins. So all that you have to do is we have to just call the analog write function specifying the pin and the duty cycle. So the duty cycle is a value from 0 to 255. That is the duty cycle variation that you can have. 0 means the signal is 0, the motor will not rotate, and 255 stands for maximum duty cycle, which will be spinning the motor at its maximum RPM. And the pins could be any of the PWM supported pins on the Arduino. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins on Arduino which is supporting PWM. And in most cases, the Arduino may not be able to supply the enough current to drive the motor. In such cases, we have to use auxiliary motor driver ICs, which will supply sufficient current to the external motor. So we need an external motor driver chip if your motor is a power hungry device. So let us see how all these things are connected together. Now we have the Arduino and the L293 or 298 based motor driver board. So this is supplying the power to the motor, and these lithium ion batteries, each battery is 3.7 volt. It will give you approximately 12 volt, 11.1 volt, and these motors will be fed from this supply, and Arduino will be generating the control signals for the direction and speed. So a simple example could be you can make a simple robot or moving robot based on this. A line flowing robot, etc. can be constructed based on this infrastructure. Of course, you will have to add more sensors for that. So this is a simple setup where a joystick is used as an input, which will be used to control the direction of motor. Let's say when joystick is moved forward, all motors will start moving forward, and it takes direction based on the position of the joystick. So this is how joystick is used along with the motor driver chip to control the DC motor. So the issue with the DC motor is that the moment you feed power, it starts rotating. You have no control over the position of the shaft. So if you want to have precise positioning of the shaft, for example, let's say consider the case of a placement system or an automated placement. Let's say you want to place something at a defined coordinate. You need precise positioning of the motor. So that is not possible here. For that we need what is known as a servo motor. So more details on how servo motor works, what is the servo mechanism, etc. will be discussed in the next video.